Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. A new report shows Detroit is among the cities doing the most to create educational and economic opportunities for young black men. The information comes from the National Campaign for Black Male Achievement, a nonprofit organization made up of leaders from across the country. According to the report, Detroit, Washington, D.C., and Oakland, California are leading the efforts to reduce the achievement gap for African American males. The data is based on successful strategies and programs that are helping young men graduate from high school, get jobs, and avoid trouble. The Skillman Foundation is one of the organization's funding partners, and I'm pleased to have Skillman Program Officer David McGhee here today. Welcome to American Black Journal.
Thank you for having me again.
So, I mean, this is sort of good news about bad news, I suppose. We're doing better at dealing with one of the biggest problems that we have in this country. So we should be happy about that. We should be looking at it and figuring out how to grow it larger. But we still are talking about an enormous deficit that plagues African American men and the country.
Yeah, I mean, when you really look at it nationally, economically, socially, academically,
yeah,
African American males are at the bottom of so many lists.
Yeah.
So for the very first time, and what's exciting about this work, for the very first time, there's a national effort to support the builder. And what I mean by that is that programs and policy are progress, but those are made up of people. So the Campaign for Black Male Achievement not only focuses on the people, the programs on the ground, but it builds the individuals who are actually doing the work.
Right, right. So let's talk about what that effort looks like here and in other cities.
Yeah, so we have 200 plus individuals who are committed to improving life outcomes for black men and boys connected to the Campaign for Black Male Achievement. We have hundreds of organizations who are part of a cadre of individuals that provide support for one another. Our president and CEO, Tanya Allen, she's actually the board chair of the Campaign for Black Male Achievement. So it's a really exciting time, but the individuals here on the ground doing the work, they recognize how important it is to be committed to this issue. I mean, you can be concerned about something,
right,
but commitment takes an additional step. And that's
effort.
what these, it takes that effort, and that's what we're excited about, not only in the city, but as a foundation, we're excited to support that work.
And so what are the things that the people who are engaged in this, what are they doing? Are they mentoring? Are they working in schools? Give us an idea of what this looks like.
So they're definitely mentoring. They're definitely working in schools. They're providing the capacity that's needed individually and institutionally, so that those organizations can thrive. They're exposing these boys of color to a cadre of things locally and throughout the country, and empowering themselves, empowering young people to move the needle themselves academically, socially, mentally, financially, providing that financial literacy. So there's a host of efforts on the ground being led by hundreds of individuals who said, you know what, I'm going to make this commitment to this population.
Yeah. When we talk about this issue and talk about Detroit being out front of dealing with this, talk about some of the numbers that tell us that that's true. What is it that we're seeing here in Detroit that may be getting better than other places?
Yeah, well, one, we have a mayor who's been out front and outspoken about this particular topic. We have Councilmember James Tate, who started a task force on black male engagement. So from the top level, those are a few things. As you trickle down, what makes Detroit unique is that this population is primarily African American.
Yes.
And then we have a high concentration of African American males of color, right? So that means that it is incumbent upon us to take a different approach to doing this work and solving these issues. So most of the national efforts throughout the country that are focused on this population have local chapters right here in the city of Detroit.
In Detroit. Okay. And are we seeing the achievement gap, for instance, in school narrow in Detroit?
For boys of color, we are seeing a slow uptick.
Is that right?
We're seeing a slow uptick.
Despite all the chaos that goes on in public education here.
Despite all of the chaos that goes on in public education, because when you expose young people to opportunities, they actually can see a path forward. So it's up to us. It's incumbent upon us as individuals and institutions, private sector and the public sector, to create that path for young people.
Yeah.
And that's what we're hoping to do and hoping to accomplish.
Yeah. Speaking of schools, of course, you want school to lead to other things. And so much of the problem is if you go and you get through school and you get through college and maybe want to do something or start a business in a place like Detroit, it's still difficult to get the resources, to get the access to the kind of backing that you need, or just to have an understanding of how that works.
Yeah, and that's why we're layering in a lot of financial literacy support. That's also why we're layering in the summer jobs component, just exposing young people to the private sector and introducing the private sector to the next generation of young Detroiters who will actually move this work forward. All they need is an opportunity. So what the Campaign for Black Male Achievement and what the Skillman Foundation is working to support is to provide the resources to the individuals who are standing in the gap for these boys.
Right. I know that Skillman has long been working in this area, but you sort of tie it in with the other work that you guys are doing. I mean, the Skillman focus on neighborhoods, for instance, in Detroit, I know has had a big effect. Talk about how those things play off each other.
Yeah, those things definitely play off each other, and I'm glad you mentioned it, because as we have a strong neighborhood focus on community leadership, education, safety, and youth development, across our 6 neighborhoods, we're seeing our violent crime numbers decrease dramatically because we have measures and opportunities, measures in place and opportunities for our young people through the Safe Routes to Schools program, through partnerships with the police department. And we are hoping to build the capacity so these community residents can lead themselves and get out of their own way.
Well, and I'm glad you used that phrase, building capacity. It's one of the things that we don't do well around here in general in Detroit, build capacity to be able to manage things ourselves. And when I say Detroit there, I'm talking about the whole region, Southeast Michigan, you know, growing talent and keeping it here in a way that helps grow talent in the future. And when you're talking about black males, that's what you have to be really focused on.
Yeah, you definitely have to be focused on it because they serve as a catalyst to so many things, and equipping them with the tools to actually lead their own way and create their own path. The unintended consequences of that is positive.
Yeah.
Unintended consequences are positive.
Yeah. Talk about what the next year or two of this program should look like and what we should start to see happening in Detroit and other cities that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, so what you'll likely see is individuals who we like to term as unusual suspects coming to the table, driving this work, standing in the gap, standing hand in hand with the foundation and other partners. You'll also see a lot of this work woven into the fabric of who we are, into the spirit of Detroit, to where it is the norm. The new normal should be created to where this population is supported. The most marginalized group in any community are boys of color.
Yeah.
So shame on us if we don't step up to the plate and move forward. You'll also see a number of national initiatives, even more coming here to the city of Detroit. And hopefully Detroit continues to be a hotbed of a learning community where individuals from across the country are actually coming here to learn what it takes to move outcomes for boys of color.
Yeah. What kind of support are you getting from outside the black male community? Corporate support here in Detroit. You mentioned the mayor. He's really involved. Talk about how you've been able to bridge that gap to sort of focus people's attention on.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, we've received a lot of support primarily through the Grow Detroit's Young Talent, the Summer Youth Employment Initiative. I mean, we had hundreds of employers from Fortune 500
who
companies.
Came and
to the small mom and pop shops who actually came and stepped up to the plate.
And talk about, that was a really interesting program. I mean, the deal was you only needed $1,000, right? Any corporation.
Any corporation, any business, and the mayor was very gracious in creating a pool of dollars to match businesses and corporations. If they put in $1,000, the city of Detroit also put in $1,000 to create a summer work experience for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And 5,600 young people in the city of Detroit
got that experience.
Got that experience.
Yeah.
Got that experience.
And you know, you think about that number, $1,000. I mean, it's so little money to a business or to a lot of people. But something like that makes a big difference. You pay that $1,000, and now you've given a young person a tremendous opportunity.
Yeah, and you've given them more than a paycheck.
Yeah.
I mean, the ROI on that will live for generations.
Yeah.
Young people, we had young people making the decision between illegal activity and a work
and
experience.
A job, right?
And a work experience. So, I mean, kudos to the hundreds of businesses that actually stepped up to the plate, and we're actually moving forward. Summer 2016, we're hoping to get 8,000.
Yeah, yeah. What else do you need support-wise for this? What else do you need from government? What else do you need from the private sector to sort of make this even bigger than what it is?
Yeah, the obvious answer would be financial resources.
Money, right.
However, we need advocates that are willing to be a voice for the voiceless. That's essentially what we need. We need advocates cross-sector from all walks of life to be willing to stand up and say this population is important, and we're going to do whatever it is that we can to support them in whatever way that looks. So for some, it may be financial resources. For others, it could just be creating an opportunity. Yeah, that's what we need.
You know, I thought when the president came out and talked about this issue, that you would see more of a rallying to that cause. I sort of have to say I'm not sure I've seen that yet.
Yeah, I mean it's new, right? So for the first time in America, not only do we have the Campaign for Black Male Achievement focused on building the builder, for the very first time, we also have created the space for the country to be unapologetic in talking about this population, where communities such as Detroit, Oakland, D.C., they've been doing this work for a while. But President Obama opened up the door for everybody.
For everyone to be doing it.
And it's something new. So we're going to keep pushing at it. And hopefully the support will continue to rise as it has been.
Okay. David McGhee of the Skillman Foundation, thank you for being here.